Okay, so we looked at adding and subtracting the same value to both sides of an inequality. Now we're going to look at multiplying and dividing on both sides of an inequality. Okay, so multiplying the same number by both sides or dividing the same number by both sides. So if we look at this connect, okay, here, okay, so we have, here's our inequality. Minus 1 is less than 2. So there's minus 1, there's 2. Multiply each side by 3. Okay, so negative 1 times 3 will give us negative 3. There it is. Okay, so that becomes negative 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So here's our new values. Negative 3 on the left side, 6 on the right side. Is negative 3 less than 6? Yes. So that stays the same. It's still negative 3 less than 6. Let's try dividing each side by 3. So if we started with, again, minus 1 is less than 2. Minus 1 divided by 3 gives us negative 1/3. And 2 divided by 3 gives us 2/3. Is negative 1/3 less than 2/3? Yes, it is. So our inequality stays intact. Okay, let's look at multiplying or dividing by a negative number. So we have the same inequality again. Negative 1 is less than 2. Okay, and we're going to multiply each side by negative 3. Okay, so negative 1 times negative 3. When we multiply a negative by a negative, we get a positive. So we end up with positive 3 on our left side. And then 2 times negative 3. When we multiply a positive number by a negative number, we get a negative number. So our right side becomes negative 6. Is it still true that the left side is less than the right side? Is 3 less than negative 6? Uh-oh, here that's not true anymore. So what happens when we multiply by a negative number is our inequality sign reverses itself. It changes direction. So it used to be that the left side was less than the right side. Now the left side is greater than the right side. What do we think is going to happen if we divide by a negative number? Well, we know a lot of times that if we divide a negative by a negative, not a lot of times, all the time, a negative by a negative gives us a positive. So negative 3 times negative 1, negative 3 divided by negative 1. I said it wrong again. Negative 1 divided by negative 3, thank you, is 1/3, positive 1/3. And 2 divided by negative 3 is negative 2/3. So again, look, the arrows have kind of reversed themselves. We've switched places, which means our inequality sign has reversed. Okay, because 1/3 is greater than negative 2/3. So what is this telling us? Well, look, here's the properties. If you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by the same positive number, the resulting inequality is still true. Okay, so the sign does not change directions. We still have left side is less than the right side, or left side is greater than the right side. It doesn't switch. But when we divide or multiply each side of an inequality by a negative number, the inequality has to flip directions. The inequality sign has to be reversed in order for it to still be true. Okay, so when we're solving an inequality, we're going to use the same strategies we use for solving an equation. Everything is the same. You just have that inequality sign. But as soon as you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, we have to flip it. You got to change the direction of that inequality. Alrighty, let's try an example. So we're going to solve a one-step inequality, just like a one-step equation. Same idea. So let's just do A. Why not? Okay, so we have minus 5s is less than or equal to 25. Okay, let's see what happens. So look, in order to get s all alone, in order to isolate s, we have minus 5 times s. So we have to divide by the part we want to get rid of because it's held in there with a multiplication. So we do the opposite operation to get rid of that negative 5. The opposite operation of multiplication is division. So we divide both sides by negative 5. So now we're going to see an example of what we just talked about If we divide both sides of that inequality by a negative number, what do we think is going to happen to this inequality sign? I need Jeopardy music. What will happen? As you divide each side by -5, reverse the inequality sign. Okay, so when we divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you have to flip that Pac-Man. Okay, so he's right now, it says left side is less than or equal to right side, so it's going to become left side is greater than or equal to right side. So we divide both sides by -5, this side will become a 1, and this will become -5. So look, we have S is greater than or equal to -5. So we start at -5, and we put our arrow going to the right because it's greater than or equal to, and we color in the dot because of the equal to sign. Uh-oh, there's insanity upstairs. Okay, we're going to step it up a notch. We have a multi-step inequality, but you are pros because you did all your equation solving a couple weeks ago. Same idea, we want to isolate our variable, except now we have an inequality sign instead of an equal sign. Okay, so what are we going to do? Whoa, okay, so let's do this step by step. Let's go back up here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we want to get all our A's on one side, all our constants on the other side. So the first step they did here was said, okay, let's get this 14.6 out of here. So we have plus 14.6. So the opposite of that is minus 14.6. So we're going to subtract 14.6 from both sides. This will go away. Okay, 14.6 will be gone from the left side. And on the right side, we're going to have to do minus 5.2, take away 14.6. And that gives us negative 19.8. Okay, so after that first step, we have negative 2.6a, that's just that guy, is greater than negative 19.8 plus 1.8a. Okay, that's just that guy who was written there. Okay, so now we want all our a's on one side. So we're going to subtract this guy from both sides. We have plus 1.8a, so we're going to do subtract 1.8a. But if we do it here, we have to do it on the other side too. So we're going to do that. You can see it here and here. Subtract 1.8a. Now, when we subtract something, we don't have to do anything to that inequality sign. See how it stays intact? Okay? It's still good. When you add or subtract, it doesn't affect that inequality sign. So we have negative 2.6 minus 1.8 gives us negative 4.4a. So all our a's are on the left now. And on the right, we have negative 19.8. That's fine. So now our last step, because we want only one a, is to get that negative 4.4 out of there, and it's held in there with a multiplication. So in order to get rid of that, we have to divide by negative 4.4. When we do that, what's going to happen to that inequality? It will reverse. Okay, so see, now it flips, and we have a is less than 4.5. Okay, so you can verify that, and that's what they're doing here. They're just picking any value of a that could be less than 4.5. You could pick 2, you could pick 1, you could pick whatever you want, and see if the left side is less than the right side. Okay? Okay. So what they're doing here is they're going to pick a few values that satisfy the idea of being less than 4.5. So 4, 0, and minus 2. And then substitute each of those back into that original equation for a. Okay, so this will be your left side, this will be your right side, and then you'll check to see, is that whole thing greater than that whole thing? Okay, so they do that here. Substitute in a value of 4 for a, and they get 4.2 on the left and 2 on the right. Is the left greater than the right? Yes, check. Okay, so then the next, they do it the same thing, but with different values, all satisfying the inequality. They try it with a 0, and the left side's greater than the right side, and then they try it with negative 2, and again, it's greater than the right side. So all 3 substitutions verify the inequality, which tells you that your answer is correct.